don't think in 2021, or even, in the recent past, you can change an organization without changing the technology. And when we talk about changing the technology, we don't just talk about swapping one church management system and putting another church management system in its place. You have to think about not just the data and the tech, but also the people and how are they using the system, and then the processes and measurements. So it's not, if you're going to put a new church management system in and keep the processes the same, you're probably going to get the same results. But anyway, right now there are three main components of the Communitas platform. One is the staff platform that we call engagement platform that we call Chapter. And so that's the portal to design, so that's more the back end church management system, but it's also there to design the front end or congregate expense. And that's what we call Story. And then part of all of anything, if you think about you consuming anything on your smartphone, there's a lot of video content and audio content. So the discipleship content, we're using a product called Reach, made by Arena Edge. And one of the reasons we do use them is we have a relationship that we can start managing their roadmap a little bit and engaging with them so that we can influence their roadmap and deeply then integrate it with the rest of Communitas.